I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the mayor and city council study session, and we appreciate everybody being here tonight. First thing on our agenda tonight is public comments, and if you sign in for public comments, Lisa?
Yes, sir. I have one person signed in, Mr. Crosland. I'd like to come to the podium.
Is that mic on?
If you'll push that button, hold it. Let me turn mine off.
One right down here, Mr.
Push it.
Yeah, till the light.
Hold it till the.
Yeah, till there's numbers there across the bottom. See
Okay.
them? Okay.
All
There you
right.
go.
You hear?
Yes, sir.
Everybody else needs to turn theirs off because there's feedback.
No, that's.
That's not what's doing it.
Oh.
Connection.
Oh,
There you go. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment about the chickens
Yes.
in the city limits in general, but specifically in my area where I live over on Edgemont Drive,
Yes, sir.
there are quite a few residents that have chickens, turkeys, and roosters, and just all kinds of fowl. And the thing about it for me is in the summertime, especially, there's so many of them. I mean, there's like some of the neighbors have like 50 chickens, or whatever. And then the summertime, the smell gets pretty rough. And the worst of it all, though, is so a couple of years ago, I planted some flowers in front of my house right there. And the turkeys and chickens and all came and scratched them all up. And so y'all know where that left me in standing with my wife, anyway. But the chickens, and when they turn them out, certain times of the day and all, they just make a beeline for the neighbors' yards that don't have chickens, and so on and so forth. And my wife, again, we come back in and chicken poop on our driveway and get out and walk in the house, and she has to go straight to the restroom. When she gets in there, there's chicken poop all over the floor mat there in front of the, I'm just going on and on about stuff like that, but you get the point. It's just, and also I want to point this out, though. I don't know if it's true or not. Somebody said that that's where chinches come from. Y'all know what chinches are? Bed bugs, chinches. If you've ever had them, and I have, whenever I was growing up, you trust me, take my word for it. You don't, them things get started, they are hard to get rid of. But anyway, hey, if I wanted to live on the farm, I would have moved out in the country or whatever, and that kind of thing. But I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth, and, something needs to be done about these chickens. And I believe, without a doubt, I speak for a lot of other people that don't have them, So that's all I
Appreciate
want to
it.
say.
Thank you, sir, for coming tonight. Appreciate you and your wife coming. Thank you. Do we have anyone else, Lisa?
No, sir, I do not. Is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment that did not sign in? I believe you can close the public comment section.
All right, our staff reports, we'll ask our city manager, Scott Collins, to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to touch on a few issues briefly and then follow up with a more detailed written report by the end of the week. First of all, though, everyone, please remember the Chick-fil-A ribbon cutting is tomorrow at 9 a.m. At City Hall tomorrow, several staff members will be meeting individually with MTAS consultant Chuck Down to go over various issues within their respective departments and their duties to help us get a better gauge on who does what and to set some baselines on all the work being done. There is a very interesting MTAS training being offered January 23rd through the 25th. It's Elected Officials Academy, but it's very beneficial, not only, of course, for the elected officials, but for everyone. And the registration deadline is not until January 18th. But the reason I bring this up is it would be so beneficial, I think, for all of us to perhaps get in a group setting to do the Zoom training. And that way we can join together and break bread and get the benefit of MTAS's expertise to maybe help us down the road on a few issues. The last thing I have is just want to voice our appreciation to the mayor and city council for funding the employee appreciation luncheon yesterday. That was a fantastic time, and all of the employees, it's so well attended, and all the employees really, the appreciation goes two ways. They want to thank you for recognizing their efforts, their service, and their. And the last thing, and I'm going to ask Buck to please step up and give us an update on the North Britain Street drainage project.
Good evening, Ms. Fowler.
How we doing this evening?
Good.
Is this on? I think you guys can hear me well enough. I think the last council that I was at, I told you that we was running into some issues over there on the Britain Street project as far as when we started digging in the ground. That appears like it's going to continue. We have told them to go 30 more feet to get past the building and get past the electric pole that's being held up. But we want to meet with the contractor next week and kind of come up with some alternatives so we can do whatever we can to stay within our budget that was approved. So if you guys see the work slowing down over there or something going on, that's what's going on. And we'll probably have to have, once we figure out the way forward, we might have to have a special meeting or something to come to you guys if it's going to be something over that dollar amount of what was budgeted. Will is looking at other alternatives. I think we got a couple good alternatives that we can go that'll still serve the same purpose of what we're trying to do, just with the material that we're having to work with. Okay.
I had a question about the street. Do you know the answer to that? Is that street right there behind Coffee Beans and all that that goes up beside Jones, is that street gonna be opened again when you get finished?
Yeah, it's going to actually be open here in a little bit. We'll close off the front side of it
Okay.
so we can continue to excavate going down.
Okay.
And then we have brought in some gravel-based material,
Okay.
and we'll be able to open up that backside.
Okay.
So you get one, but you lose the other, but there's still the entrance that you can come in off just a little bit further up, not off Britain.
Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Anyone else any questions?
I got one comment.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've seen you there a couple of times, because I go to Coffee Beans morning, noon, and night, just about, I mean, they're not open at night, but literally. At least once a day, if not twice a day, I'm right there.
Yes.
And I hate to throw rocks, but the contractor is dedicating virtually no one to this job. I mean, if they're there one day a week, they're there for a few hours and they're gone. And then maybe the next day they might be there for a few hours. It is rare. I bet you within the last 60 days that they have put in more than 2 days a week or even 2 half days a week. So I don't want it to get into a thing saying, well, they're so far behind the deadline because of material or complications, because they have not been on the job site.
And that has been something that I've discussed with Will, and I know that he's discussed with them. They do have a timeline that they have to follow. Them nor us want to get into a liquidated damages situation. There has been some things that had to be changed, you know as well as I do. You open up the ground, some things changed there. That allotted for a little bit of time, but there has been times that they should be there. They're experiencing what everybody else is experiencing, trying to find employees to put on the job, to come to work, to show up. Everybody's going through that, but yes, that has been addressed, that has been brought up, and it will continue to be.
Definitely appreciate trying to get somebody on the job that they're having trouble getting people. I just don't want it to run out saying 6 months from now, oh, we're so far behind, and blame it on other things other than literally they don't have men to get on the job site. So I think that's probably the biggest issue that I've seen.
The by the building there was anticipated to be the slowest moving. You have to wait at least 7 days to be able to break a core, and you normally have to wait to 14 days to get your strength before you can backfill. So in that dead period in between there wasn't much work going on while they were waiting for strength to get on that so they could backfill. They didn't want to take out any more to close off that other entrance without having that back entrance open. So there are a couple of reasons why, but not all of it, can I say, is justified.
Just saying that as a cautionary.
Yes,
thing
sir.
to watch out down the road. I know how things change. 90 days, 180 days down the road, oh, we're so far behind. A lot of other excuses because they haven't really, it's been a rare event when they've been there.
We've been lucky that we haven't had the rain.
The weather's been perfect.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
awesome.
So, yeah, that's, we're hoping that if we come up with a solution moving forward, that when they open up that other area, the goal is to open up all the way down to the corner at that point. And if that gets, once we get by the corner there, I mean, it's pretty smooth sailing going down through there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilman McPhail. Anyone else have any comments? Thank you, Mr. Ballard.
Yes, sir.
Our next item is a part-time intern for public relations, and I'll ask our city manager, Scott, to tell us about that.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to gauge the council's interest in the possibility of a part-time position, perhaps a college student, a TCAP student, just someone to help us enhance our presence within the various social media platforms, and also help out with our YouTube channel and get more, with our councilwoman, get more publicity and better coverage and availability. And to me, it would be a low-cost, high-impact process, and plus give a young person good experience working with someone else very experienced in the
Comments, questions? Anyone?
I do want to make mention that I had no input on this going on the agenda. I did not ask for any assistance or anything of that nature, so City Manager Collins, you may want to.
Oh, absolutely. No, this was totally my ideal, and I just thought it would be a benefit to us because we have so many great things going on within the city. So many great things the city council is doing for our city, and of course the mayor, but we're somewhat lacking in, it starts with me, we're somewhat lacking in getting the message out there as proper as we should. But no, the councilwoman did not approach me or ask for this at all. I just, more and more municipalities, several even smaller than us, are having public information officers and other full-time positions to get the city message out to their voting public as well as visitors and general public. Case in point, the Tennessee Backward Roads Heritage, we're a member there. And Mr. Cannon has put in a few things to get the word out there, but that's about it. Recently, when I went to East Tennessee, in our official state vacation visitors guide. Shelbyville was mentioned one time. And that is the Chamber of Commerce, and it's just a phone number. So between the videos on YouTube, Facebook messaging, and also other media that we can hit on, we just put Shelbyville out there more and more for the world to see and increase the tourism dollars. The mayor gave me a report on tourism dollars. It's increasing, but it's not nearly as much as we could be.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, our next item, I'll ask Scott again, request direction on the economic development.
Mayor, I'm primarily going to defer to our city attorney. We recently, city recorder, city attorney, myself, and our city treasurer had a discussion based on the inaction at the last monthly meeting. And however, it was pointed out, there was a motion approved by the city council. So I'd like to ask our city attorney to please touch on that.
Yes, Scott, I'll be happy to. At this time, there's no clear direction to your staff on how to move forward. You all, a couple of months ago, when I was out of town for your, I guess it was your October meeting, there was a motion passed, and it was a three-part motion, and Lisa, I'm sorry, I may need you to tell me exactly what it was. It was to actually hire an economic director. But at the time, part of the other was, I think you wanted to, it doesn't actually mention whether it's going to be a contract consultant. It doesn't mention it's going to be employee, but you talked about the council hiring the person. I think the mayor was appointed to do some various things. I can't remember what. Anyway, as I told Lisa and Scott, they really can't carry out that action right now because none of that is in compliance with either your charter or your policies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you all, and we talked about that in November. I came back and said, hey guys, we need to clarify that. But as y'all were sitting here at your November study session, it said, at least there were like 4 of you that said, hey, why don't we scrap that and do an assistant city manager? Well, you came back in your November meeting. 2 of you were absent. There was a motion for the assistant city manager, and then that didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So that's didn't go anywhere. And so you still got this old, you did vote to hire one, but you didn't give enough clear direction. They can't do anything right now. Their hands are stuck. So I just brought that back up to Scott and saying, hey, we've got to have direction. We really need to move forward. You all sit there, you all know with a hotel motel tax coming in every year, and you are supposed to use it for a limited amount of things. You're either economic development, your tourism, retail recruitment. And so I think we get the sense that you all want somebody to do that. But how you want to do it, they've got to have clear direction. Because if you want an economic director that's an employee, you leave that goes through our normal employee process. Right. And I think, do we have an actual job description? Don't we have a job description already approved? I mean, so it could be a simple vote next week that you all decide to modify that, let it be an employee and let it run through that system. If you don't want it to be an employee and you want it more of a consultant with a contract, you know, our purchasing policy requires, it sets out how we go through that process. You all would have to vote to let that either request for proposal or request for qualifications. Lori's got to draft that. She's got to know, do you want 6 months, a year, 18 months, She goes through that process. She publicizes it. She takes all those proposals that comes in. The bid committee reviews that. The bid committee makes a recommendation and it comes back to you all for a vote. And then I would have to do a contract with that person. We always have contracts with our consultants. So that's what our purchasing policy says. So I just told Scott, I was like, we've got to hone in and get focused on that. And I'm pretty sure y'all want to get that done too. So tonight, probably a good idea for you all to talk it out amongst yourselves. Which direction, what do you want?
Any comments, council?
Did I touch upon everything, Scott?
We actually voted to hire an economic developer. And it passed.
Yes.
It was my motion. To simplify it, I think, as an employee of the city of Shelbyville would be the easiest way. Mr. Collins would do the hiring of his expertise. I feel that surely he can hire someone that's as good as ever in this town. My recommendation is that it's just the simplest thing is just to let him in
As an employee.
city employee. Is that not correct?
Either way, it's up to y'all.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
So
Thank you.
what is the hiring process, city employee versus consultant? You're soliciting for that position being open as a city employee, aren't you, I mean, does that take, it may take less amount of time, or what's the difference?
In terms of time,
Yes,
well, I don't know. Lori may be able to speak more on when you're doing a consultant, but consultant is a contract. That person's not an employee of the city. That person's getting a contractual payment, and you do it by time. That person, however, though, would be, the selection of that would be council vote
Right.
versus an employee who Scott makes that determination.
Right.
But, in terms of time, I can't say which one would be faster, if that's what you're looking for from a time perspective. Excuse me. Is that what you were looking for from a time perspective?
yeah, that's it, but
Can I ask Lori, if they do vote for it to be a consultant, won't we have to come back with a vote to allow you to let a request?
Yeah.
So you will have to vote that way, but we could do that at, we would have to clean the motion up.
Mhm.
And then I guess it would have to come back at the next meeting.
Well, no,
Would-
what, I was hoping that you all could tonight come to a consensus of what you want. And that way, you could hopefully already have on next week's meeting, the agenda would be, if you wanted to go consultant, and Lori, if I'm speaking out of turn, tell me if you can't get that ready for them to vote and say, we're going to let for a proposal or a request for qualifications.
Well, they will only have to pre-authorize a request for proposal by Tennessee state law. An RFQ is not. Now, if you let an RFQ, you're hiring based on qualifications, not money.
Right.
Right.
And you
That's
have,
generally what you want to do.
you have a certain amount of time you have to let those out for, Lori?
The very least amount of time I like to have anything out in the public is 2 weeks. My goal is especially on professional positions, would be 3 to 4 weeks.
3 to 4 weeks. And how long do you all normally, for an employee, have a?
And another thing I'd like to add to that, I'm sorry, is if you go with a contracted person, they're not yours for all of time.
Right.
They have other customers.
Right.
So that's one of the things I think, should be considered in balances. You might have them for 2 hours a week, you might have them for 10.
Well, I think that would be a part of what
Yes.
council needs to set forth is what you want. You'd have to definitely say what type of,
And we
how
did
long you want to
retail,
work.
yeah, we did retail strategies that way. Our retail, we contracted with a group to do that. My thoughts as mayor, it would be to go with a group again. That way we would know, are we gonna have enough work for one person to hire them, pay their benefits, and all of those things. I think we need to go and get someone for economic development, but I was thinking maybe a 6 month or a year or something contract to get a group like we got retail strategies and see what kind of work they can do. And then if they don't work out for us, then we can hire somebody. That's just my thoughts. Doesn't mean that's where we need to go, but that's just my thoughts.
I feel like that would really weaken your, the person you'll get, because
Okay.
who wants, if you're really good at what you do, and you're an experienced person in that profession, who's gonna leave a job or look to move for a 6 months job?
Right.
They
Well,
wanna
these
come-
groups, I think they work, just like retail strategy, they work on that all the time for
Yeah,
cities.
that's just a group of people that you're
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
You're talking, I mean, what I was referring to was someone exactly like Shane Hooper,
Right,
but they would be working for the city.
right.
That was, if that's still the will of the council, which that really needs to be discussed by the council tonight. I mean, that's been 3 months,
Right, sure have.
so.
Anyone else have any thoughts? What we need
We
to do?
need somebody.
Sir, okay,
We
Bob?
gotta have a point person.
All right.
You know, we spent the money to
Let's
get
do it.
retail strategies. I got no problem with hiring an
Okay.
employee,
Okay,
but you know, you look at Lawrenceburg, and I shouldn't talk about it. They're sitting there in the middle of nowhere. And they got a 39-year-old young man that got them a Blue Oval company.
Yeah.
Multi-billion-dollar Blue Oval company. There's, folks, there's people out there like that can do it. The younger people hungry.
Yeah.
And we got Scott sitting right there. I've praised Scott before. Scott knows everybody in Tennessee that's involved. And he, you know, if we had our own, Scott could point him in the right direction, put him in front of the right people, introduce him to the right people, you know.
okay.
But if we're gonna do the retail strategy thing, we need a point person,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
don't need to spend money on them and not.
Okay. Anyone else?
At the risk of repeating myself again, when I go back to our November study session agenda where the city manager submitted the proposals for the economic development director or the assistant city manager. The reason I think we went toward the assistant city manager is the economic development salaries that were surveyed were anywhere from $100,000 to $187,000.
Right.
The assistant city manager, he thought, would be in the mid $70,000s to the low $100,000 range. I think that was beginning to drive the conversation. Well, we have a city manager who's basically an economic developer. He's got virtually all the certifications for it. If we could relieve him of the dog calls, the chicken calls, the pothole calls, whatever, you know, those day-to-day things, and put them on an assistant city manager to handle some of those routine calls and deal with the department heads, that would free him up, who's already trained up on economic development, knows our city well, and could run with that as part of his job description. That would be a whole lot cheaper than trying to go out and hire somebody and bring them in at $100,000 to $187,000. To me, that's a waste of money when we can get the job done for a maximum of $100,000. So that's just, you know, my position is we don't need an full-time economic director, so. But if you want one, you can go through that exercise and try to reinvent the wheel, but.
Thank you, Councilmember Feldhouse. Anyone else have any comments? Okay. Looks like we're still without a decision on that. We need to think about it some more, council, you think? Or do we need to make kind of a push to look about hiring somebody? We've got 2, 4, and
If I
Go
could
ahead.
make a exception, recommendation. Could you all 6 just say what you prefer? Do you want an employee for economic development? Do you want a consultant for economic development, or do you want assistant city manager? If you all could be so bold as to tell this council, or tell all your other council members what you would prefer, have that discussion, so they would know what to put on your agenda.
Assistant city manager.
If you want
we'll know what William.
I would have an economic development.
as an
An
employee,
employee or-
as an employee.
An assistant city manager.
Okay. Bob? Economic development.
Let me think about it.
Helen?
Well, few things here. I don't feel comfortable with the assistant city manager relieving our city manager of chicken and dog costs for $70,000 to $125,000. I just think that's kind of ridiculous. If they come in and, answer calls all morning and we're paying them the phenomenal price, I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I'm just fearful that you are, as the city manager, there's that assistant under his belt that's added responsibility. And if things are overwhelming now, that may add to. That kind of worries me. As far as the city employee, I think that might be the easier option, the quicker option. I'm not sure about the best option. But I am concerned about, we keep pulling money from the hotel motel, as we just had a piece on the agenda for the intern.
Right.
So those pieces are gonna add up to a big pie. And I'd like to keep numbers in my ear as to where we are, what can we afford, whichever direction we go in.
Yeah.
So I know I'm not being clear and straight to the point, but I'm open at reasonable suggestions by the majority of the council. And, I know that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Madam Attorney?
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah.
I'm kind of torn myself. I like the idea of the assistant city manager. I like the idea of economic development. I like the other idea. So I guess I'm like Councilman Newman, I'm open to the majority.
For clarification, the assistant city manager will be paid by the regular general fund, not from hotel motels.
Right, right. That's right.
Currently, we bring in how much hotel motel tax, Jen, roughly a year?
$25,000 a month, something like that. $25,000 a month.
Roughly 250,
Yeah.
and we're spending
Right.
35 on the,
Retail deal.
retail.
Retail
deal.
strategies, right.
What else have we committed of the hotel?
If
We
we
spent
do-
10 or 15.
If we do this intern, then we've got that, yeah.
With the horse show and that bunch, that, aren't there 4 or 5 loads,
That's right.
we're on another 40,000-50,000 time to get through,
Right.
50 or less.
or less, 50 or less, so so roughly 80,000 is somewhere in there, 75, 80, somewhere in there, we committed to.
Yes, sir. And even though, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay,
I know, it's
take a swig of that roll,
going around is killing me, and I do.
40% alcohol.
It is across the county road. But, even after we paid out the economic incentive for Chick-fil-A, we still had a healthy fund balance. And some of the projects that will be coming to this council for consideration in the near future will include a partnership with the Riverview District, that you can see a lot of work going on up there, and some other areas within the city. But I just wanted to assure everybody, right now, we have a healthy fund balance in our hotel motel tax.
Oh, not to get off the topic, but on the same thing, Scott, have you heard anything back from the county about the, building that we've asked for? You go with our overlook, river overlook.
Mr. Mayor, isn't there a $5,000 donation from the city to the chamber each year?
That's right.
Does that come from hotel motel, or is that?
Yeah, it's listed under our nonprofit,
That's okay.
during the budget time every year. Kay sends out things to nonprofit, and that's one of the nonprofits that we.
Does that come out of hotel motel? For what reason?
It's the economic development.
Right,
but they're not doing that.
chamber, no.
The chamber, I thought that was to for the city's membership of the chamber.
That does not,
It doesn't, it's not a membership,
no,
it's
it's
a
not a
donation.
membership. So why do, it's just a kindness of the city?
Yeah. Yeah, they said we're not doing
Okay, I'll go with Weave. I'll go with
Okay.
hiring us an economic person.
it. Okay.
But obviously, that person is not gonna have, to me, is not gonna have enough 5 days a week, 40 hours a week to keep him busy in economic development.
Well, that's why I was thinking
That's
to
fine.
go with that group
Yeah,
to start with, because then we'll see if we've got enough work for that.
To go with the consultant.
Yeah, to go with a consultant group, because I think we could get it cheaper. Do you think, maybe, like we did retail strategies? Possibly, but that would be that's the reason I was thinking that we wouldn't have to manage that employee. And those folks already know economic development if we got a group like that, just like retail strategies did. So they've already got the contacts. We don't have to train them to get a contact. That was my thoughts on it.
that's okay.
And if it doesn't work out, then we can always come back and hire
We
somebody
can,
who
yeah,
got enough
right,
work
we can
for them. Yeah.
do a consultant for the same term that we're doing retail strategies, and we'll look at the end of it and say, is this good, bad? We need to hire our
Yeah.
own, whatever, we can renew the contract with them.
But that'll get us in the ballgame. I mean, we need somebody
We
doing
need
that
somebody,
for us.
yeah, we need somebody.
We need somebody doing
I
it
agree,
for us.
I agree.
Does anybody have experience in, I've never heard of a city hiring a consultant as their economic development director. I've been in it a few years myself, and we went through this several years ago.
I worked with some counties. Yeah, I worked with some counties with Duck River Electric, and they would use a group to do it because the counties were so small, they couldn't afford to hire somebody, and so there was a group that would come in and do those kind of things for them. Yeah. But that's up to you folks. Now, if we want to hire a person, we have to manage that person, we got to pay their benefits, we got to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we need to do that right now.
If we do a consultant, will that money come out of hotel motel?
Yeah.
As long as it's for economic development.
Yeah.
I think I would go that direction.
Okay.
For a year,
Yeah.
the retail.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Salary could come out if that's what they're doing, yeah. It
Yeah.
could come out of your hotel motel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Are you
not
talking
correct,
about
is that what y'all said?
employee?
For consultant or employee? I thought you said employee.
Maryland Councilmember Ewing is talking about a consultant.
Okay,
She
yeah.
agrees with the consultant.
But either one of them
But
come out of
you-
hotel motel.
You originally,
Oh, yeah, if they're hired as economic
either
development,
one of them.
Yeah,
if they're hired as the assistant city manager, they won't. The title,
The title makes a difference.
Yeah.
well, it depends on if you shift. I mean, you could shift that if you've got Scott specifically doing that. You could take money from there to pay salary.
And with an employee being paid out of the Economic Development Fund, hotel motel tax, we would have to document the times, just whether
They spent,
me, a regular employee, whoever, we would have to document, 3.5 hours spent on working on Publix or something like that.
Right.
And justify, you'd have to do better record keeping,
Yeah.
more so than you would with an accountant. Thank you.
so,
With the consultant, the consultant would be like retail strategy.
Yeah.
You just pay them out the economic development fund and
They go after.
whether they work 10 hours a week or 80 hours a week, we pay them X amount of dollars to get us benefits and results.
Right.
and there are people, like Henry said, there are consultants that's what they do. I mean, there are people out there like it, Scott.
I'm saying I haven't heard of anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was wondering, are there people out there?
I'm not familiar, but that's not to say they're not out there.
Yeah. They may not.
And
Yeah,
We
they
may
are,
have to
just
do
like
something.
retail strategies, there are people out there, yeah.
They are.
There's companies like that, yeah.
sometimes you just got to float the balloon.
Yeah.
See what comes back.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to make one more comment.
Go right ahead.
This is still gonna be a full team effort, no matter what direction we go, whether it's a full-time economic development director, whether it's a consultant, whether it's an assistant city manager. Still, each and every one of you all will be doing economic development. Our public works director, our planning director, our police chief, our parks and rec director, everybody. No matter what direction you go, it's still a full team effort. We need to know.
Yeah.
What you-
And we did that with Chick-fil-A that's, by the way, they have the ribbon cutting tomorrow. And, I got a chance to talk to them on the phone for a while and all of us worked that. I mean, and that's the way it should be. Are we firm to kind of look for a, consultant?
I don't
We've
have,
got, how many, 3?
I don't have,
Bobby?
Councilmember Christie, are you still in favor of an employee position?
Well, I sat here and listened to this, and, nobody is really, it doesn't feel like, we have in place right now a committee, a group that you have formed that, and we are working on it. We have that in place. With so much controversy, I'm not opposed to just leaving things status quo for a while until we, after the first of the year, and then readdress this maybe in February. Let's see how everything goes along, and because you are actually on top of it now because you're meeting with everything it's not like we don't know what's going on, like we're not in the dark. So, maybe we should just sit back and I'd rather not do anything than do something wrong. So, I'm not opposed, do you table it, June, is that the thing? Just
You could defer it,
defer it
certainly.
for 90 days and.
I think we would need to have a vote to defer. I would prefer because you've got a vote already to do something.
Well, I would, there again, I'm just throwing that out there. There's 6 people and
And it's not quite a majority.
we're
What to
just
do?
getting a couple, then there's a couple of us.
Yeah.
Being outspoken and some aren't. And I don't know where everybody I don't know where everybody really lays. I don't want to do, I hate to back up. I don't want to do 6 months from now say we shouldn't have done this.
No.
Yeah, and that's the reason I don't want to go with consultant, because you can always let them go after a year.
On the
And an
retail
employee, it's hard to
strategies,
get rid of an employee after you've got them.
They're already on the job.
Retail strategies are currently doing the deep dive into research. They're doing analytics as we speak of retail leakage, matching us with corporations that are expanding. And then as it stands right now, on January 22nd and 23rd, the tentative group going down to their retail academy will be Lisa, Tom Batchelor, and myself. And that is an intensive 8 to 12 hour boot camp to where they drill us down, give us our talking points, to do the elevator speeches with
And when is that,
prospects.
Scott?
January 22nd, 23rd.
Well, I'm not at all opposed to deferring to after that date, and you can come back and maybe enlighten us a lot more. And we might do just fine, like, the partnership still has a full-time economic developer out there, so.
Yes, sir, and because we didn't know what direction we firmly were gonna go in, we've not had a meeting of our development committee since early November. However, if you all want to defer this until further notice, we can get them cranked up. Matter of fact, I had a request recently. Let's get together and compare some notes. We had a wonderful meeting this morning with the Studio 8 architect group, and we're having a meeting next Wednesday on the Riverview District, and Jeb House and his mother, Mrs. Beasley, will be there. Beth and Mike Davis, and then Mindy and Craig Campbell to finalize this presentation so we can bring it to the city council and then get you all to really put your stamp on it however you want it with architects. Preliminary concept. But things like that can happen, you know, with your all's blessing. We can keep moving on economic development.
Well, Scott, are you all right with that? Is what I'm saying, just put it off till, don't do anything after, but just leave things status quo after, say, February?
Absolutely, and what I'll do in the interim, I'll just delegate more.
There you go.
That works.
Is that okay with you folks, that we do that, or do you want to go ahead and go for finding somebody?
How long would it take us to do one or the other if that's the will of the council? Whether it be a consultant or hired a person, Lord, will it be a long months deal?
March, I'd say.
Probably, we could probably have it back by February, I would think.
It would be,
But if they defer it to February, if vote on it in February, then it'd be like March,
Yeah.
March,
Yeah.
latest would be the April meeting, we could have it back.
And the contract with retail strategies runs what? What is that?
It's
So they're,
weird.
yeah, it started when it started.
It started,
September.
no, I think it was October, by the time
October?
we finally got it signed. It was October.
And plus,
Okay, what we want to do, they need an answer. Do we want to defer? William said maybe less to defer. Stephanie, okay, Bobby,
Yeah, I'm fine.
Henry?
About like Bobby was a few months ago. I'm tired of talking about it.
I know what you mean.
Waste
I know what you
hours
mean.
and hours,
Hours
every
and
single
hours
month for a
meeting.
year.
Yeah.
I just soon pay the partnership $100,000, join up with them, get kumbaya time and move on. Take advantage of the synergy that creates. I mean, they're doing great things for the community. Why we want to reinvent the wheel, I don't know, so. I just soon do that, and not have to worry about it.
Marilyn? Okay. Okay, all right. Let's just defer it till about February then, okay? So we got an answer tonight. Okay? All right, the next item on the agenda is amend the personnel policy, acceptable use policy. Go ahead, Scott, please.
thank you, Mayor. As part of our overall personnel policy, there's a segment in there, the acceptable use of information technology assets policy. This, you have a copy of it on your iPads. This is a basic diagram on employees' use of IT assets. And we just need to update ours because the other one is substandard. And with the state really putting on the push for cybersecurity and many other IT issues, it's my understanding this is the first step in getting us in compliance with the upcoming state mandates.
Do we need any other discussion on that?
It just,
Everybody understand kind of what we're looking at there? Do you see that Shelbyville government acceptable use of information assets policy consent and release form?
it'll just to follow up on what city manager said, this will be handed out to every new city employee. The policy will be, and they'll sign on the back that which they already do, they already sign, but now currently it's like one page and they sign that they understand that, they're not supposed to be looking up things they shouldn't be looking up and that kind of stuff. This is a little bit more detailed, goes into a little bit more rules. That's what it basically is, just updating that and bringing us kind of more into what we need to be as a government.
Everybody clear on that? Any discussion, anybody against that or have a question about it?
It's good.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next item then. Number 4 is request extension on the airport layout plan. Scott, we'll give you a break. Mr. Perry, our airport director, please, Paul, how are you?
So with the, this request is, has no money involved, it's just time. And our current airport layout plan project has
Can you
been,
turn your mic on? Is it on? Just press that button.
Hold it
and
down to your
a number will come up. You got it? Thank you, sir.
the one that's, the battery's running low.
Okay.
Here we go. So with that, there is, the current airport layout plan, is actually been held up a little bit by FAA. FAA's been reviewing our numbers because we're, providing a lot of information of the changes that are going on here at the airport. And so has some delays, and therefore we want to go ahead and get ahead of the process so that there's no problems with time. And so all this is a request to extend it by 2 years, the project, for the contract. The consultant doesn't see, as of right now, there's going to need that, but we also don't want to cause any problems in the future if they do, because of the fact that we've been delayed by FAA by 8 months. So they want to go ahead and just add that in as a necessary evil.
All right. Any questions on that item? All right. Paul, if you would just remain where you are. Merchant agreement, World Fuel Services for the airport.
And so what this is just it's a type of agreement with World Fuel for what's called an air card. And really all it is an agreement that the city must sign to be able to accept that card. That card is used primarily by the military and other federal government entities. We do occasionally have those, like tonight, we had a couple of helicopters doing maneuvers out there tonight. So in issues like that, we do have the need for their payment system, because most of the time they're done through voucher systems at airports that have contracts. We do not have a contract with the military. And so occasionally when something happens and they need fuel from us or other types of services, they can utilize this card. So it's just simple as that. It's a typical card.
So if Air Force One flew in here, they could use a card, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be glad to take care of it.
We could put them down somewhere. Anybody have a question about that?
They can get down. They might not be able to get back out.
Anybody have a question about that? All right, thank you, Paul. The next item is the flight school lease for the airport.
Yes, you have a copy of that lease in there, I believe, it's been given to legal for review just to double check everything. But our Chippewa Flight Academy has been sold to Nashville Flight Training, and they're doing business as Tennessee Flight Training. They have multiple locations. So we will be one of, I believe, 5 locations in the area, with Nashville, Columbia here, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Crossville, Tennessee, other locations that they have. They're taking over some of the leases that were already there for the flight school. And one of them was up for renewal, which is for the office space, which is what this is just for. This is for what's inside the terminal building. And this lease establishes a value per square foot. That way, if at some point in time we need to move them to a different location, we sort of already have a plan in place of $1.25 a square foot. And also what it does is establishes for us a market value so that if we do have somebody else that wants to come in, that we can already have something like that established. And with that, it comes out to $365.50 per month, or a little over $4,000 a year. It is a 5-year term for that contract. And they will be just leasing, that's just for the space. They have a separate contract for storing their aircraft, but they will be providing all flight training everywhere from a private all the way up to through commercial and multi-engine will be available through this company.
Okay, thank you. Any questions there? Paul, appreciate the job you're doing. You're doing a good job, you and your staff. Okay, number 7 on our agenda, 2024 City Council meeting dates. Lisa?
Yes, sir. I sent out the calendar. I went through and checked the meeting dates for the next year. It looks like they're all good with the exception of the November study session, and it is on election day. In the past, because of it being election day, in order to give everybody time to get out and vote, support their candidates and stuff, we normally move that study session. So if everyone agrees, we would just move it over to the Thursday, which would be November 7th.
Okay.
Okay. There'll be
Anybody have any questions about the calendar and the meeting dates? All right. Thought you'd need to move here. All right, the next item, number 8 is the Duck River Project water intake. And, Waleed, would you take that for us, please?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening. This is our planning and what else, Waleed, what is the rest of your title?
Planning is enough, you know.
Director.
Can you hear me, Mayor, now? Okay. It's acting up. I mean, I'll just go ahead.
Okay, go.
So, guys, the item I have is very important. So we received information about 2 weeks ago from Shelbyville Power about potential limitation by TDEC. TDEC means the Environment Department. And the limitation would be implemented, reducing the amount of water intake, the daily water intake for the whole city. As you know, Shelbyville Power is the only provider of water and sewage services in the city.
Right.
And I will just go very quickly about what that means. So over here where the black circle is, that's where the water intake is, which means basically how they take water to clean it up before they distribute it to like businesses and homes. Not far up, and I don't know if you can see here, the blue area here, this is the sewage plant. So after cleaning up the water, it goes back into the river. And I'm gonna be a little bit subjective here. If you can see here, the distance is not that much. However, again, there have been some issues here about the whole Duck River. There have been a lot of environmental groups that have been pushing for reducing the water intake from the whole river basin. So what does this actually mean? So if you actually have the letter that was sent to you guys, and I'm gonna explain it in very easy language here, the way I understand it. So basically, as we speak now, the daily usage is over 7 million gallons a day. What, of course, this is not to count the future development that have already been approved. So what the limitation might mean, it might be reducing this daily intake to 6.3 million gallons a day, which is according to how it was explained to me by Shelbyville Power, they wouldn't be able to meet some of the existing requirements. And it might actually lead to other issues because if this is implemented at least 20 days a day, they might have issues withdrawing any water from there to keep the flow that is potentially might be acquired by the state. So why am I actually talking about this one? So we as a staff, once we knew about it, we had a meeting, like staff meeting, we met with our counterparts from Shelbyville Power, and we decided to keep you in the loop immediately. And you have a letter here. So my recommendation is that you guys, if you can, sign it, so to show that basically you are backing it up, and it's very important. Or alternatively, you can work on your own letter. Or better still, I talked to some of my colleagues from Columbia. I know you are very busy and your schedule might not allow it. If some of you can show up once we know the exact next meeting of TDEC, that would be a huge support. And this is basically what Columbia is doing. They are sending some of the elected officials as well.
Well, I've been to that Duck River Agency meeting and they were talking about that, the amount of water being drawn. Of course, Normandy Dam is where Columbia and Shelbyville are actually getting the water from. They were talking about raising the level of the lake over there. And I don't know, I didn't know that we'd ever have a water problem here in Tennessee, but we're growing so fast that those things are happening. And then we have to pay for each gallon that, there's a fee there that
There's a
goes to
fee
the
too, yeah.
government agency, right?
Right.
And Jason is going to a meeting about that in the morning. Jason Reese, our
Yes.
Sheffield Power, Water and Sewer, general manager.
I'm talking about the meeting that I didn't get the exact date about. It's public meeting.
Uh-huh.
And usually, because how serious it is, everybody's recommending that if we have elected officials support. No, it might not be feasible, but it would be a great idea. Because I'm not saying that not only will it limit the future development,
Right.
the existing one will be an issue.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
Wally, would it be beneficial that we also have a letter from council?
Absolutely, like that's why.
So you've done a letter yourself.
Yes.
Do you want a letter from council as well?
So the two options, either if they can sign it, if they like, we can tweak it, or if each one of individually or collectively can send their own letter, that would be awesome as well.
I think we just signed in with his letter, don't you think?
Wally's done an exceptional job on the letter.
Right.
Buck has had input in it, and then the fire chief had a very interesting viewpoint that's been added in because of the advanced water treatment or the sewer plant.
Right.
Putting water back into that river.
Right.
That's gonna be touched on, so I just want to commend everybody. And of course, during the meeting, Jason Reeves and John Freeman was there, and it was a great meeting and a lot of good input. So I think Wally's letter, Jason's already critiqued it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, we make changes, so.
And so this is a good letter.
Okay. All right. Everybody kind of understand what we're talking about there?
I got a question, trying to get the high level view. Are you saying, historically, we've had essentially a 10 million gallon day permit or whatever, or sort of grandfathered in, that's kind of the number they've been talking about, is my
The
understanding.
information I have from Jason, basically, and I'm actually looking at the letter here, so at some point, the city was, Shelbyville Power was allowed 6.4 million gallons a day. They were able at some point to be using more than this kind of number. What it seems to be that a couple of years ago, Shelbyville Power were asking for about 8.5 million gallons. That's what they're asking for now. So the state want to go back to the 6.4, actually 6.04 million gallons a day.
Yeah.
And this information, I asked them to send it by official email, so basically it's accurate. You know how it is, when you are in a meeting, everyone will have different view or number. Those are the latest ones that we got.
The capacity of the plant is 10 million.
Okay, maybe that's where I get it. Historically, we've always said, hey, we're in great shape with water. We've got 10 million
We
capacity.
never approved for that.
You've invested now in the sewer plant, you bring it state of the art, best to capture, and now we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to capture extra water and put back in the river.
Right.
So hopefully.
What I've gleaned from the last couple of power board meetings is that they're actually waiting for TGA to give them a actual amount, but they're lobbying for all they can get. But it could come back to less than they're, actually what we're allowed now, it's possible. So water is gonna become a treasure. The more time passed, it's gonna become a big deal, and it could really impact how much development we can even pass and approve anymore.
Right.
Because if they cut it down much, we'll be actually using more than we're getting. So, and it can be very soon. So we're actually waiting, Jason should know in the next, I think, month or so exactly what we're gonna get.
If I may,
Go ahead.
Wally, could you clarify, is TDEC potentially saying they're going to reduce what we are pulling out, not what we're allowed to pull out? What our average pull out every day is?
Absolutely, yes.
They're
That's what
going
they
to
say.
lower.
Yes, that's what they say. In essence, if
So we would have to take measures. What would Shelbyville Power be doing in that case if that scenario happened?
from discussion with all of them,
Uh-huh.
it seems that they have only one plan so far, which is fight against it. That's what I understood from all our meetings. Just all of us collectively go against it. I didn't hear about plan P.
So those of you on the power forward. You've not had that discussion at that level about if that does get put down, how are we going to actually
No.
comply with it? Or
That
will we
actually had
ignore
come
it?
up
What
in
will
a
we
meeting.
do?
It has not been discussed in the meeting yet, because they're still hoping to get what we've got.
Sure, sure.
We're hoping to at least stay at the level we are. But as you all know, with the development we've already approved in the pipeline,
Right.
that's gonna be, we will be under. And they don't, and from what I believe, they don't feel they're gonna have much chance to get much more than they've got now. The increase is gonna be very
Highly unlikely, yes.
highly unlikely.
Okay.
So, and to your point, if you go to page number 1, you will see the tables. This will be very problematic, and those are one are already approved if they implements the caps.
Okay. That's important. I mean, when I found that out, I didn't realize we were there. Of course, I was within the electric business for years. We could extend only if we had substations and things like that to extend it out to the customers. And so water and sewer has been our big problem here in Shelbyville, trying to get the sewer lines out to, but now water is an issue.
That's only 2 weeks ago. I didn't know about it. And if you have time, if you go to TDEC website,
Yeah.
And I can send you guys the link, you will see the public hearing 2 weeks ago, what they were talking about. It was not just here, it was all the communities along the Duck River.
Okay. Very good information. Thank you for bringing us up, David, on that. Good letter too. Thank you. Well, interesting, isn't it, folks? Okay, the next item, anybody else have any discussion on that? The next item is certificate of compliance, Main Street Wine and Spirits. Lisa.
Yes, sir. This is actually added onto your agenda. It's not printed on there. Back in October, the council approved a certificate of compliance for Main Street Wine and Spirits, which is a requirement through the Alcohol Beverage Commission that anybody opening a new liquor store or buying a liquor store must apply in their community for a certificate of compliance, which is approved by the council upon a good background check. We did that back in October for this business, but in November, the Alcohol Beverage Commission made a new requirement that any third-party lenders who are loaning the money to the gentleman buying the liquor store, they also have to have a certificate of compliance. So, this one that's on your agenda for next Thursday night is not for the owner of the liquor store, but for the gentleman that's loaning him the money to buy the liquor store. If he's loaning him over 50% of the cost, then he also has to subject himself to a background check. So I've sent off the background check for him. I've talked to the Alcohol Beverage Commission and explained that that won't be approved until the background check comes back. Hopefully I'll get it back and we can, put it before you next Thursday night.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. Whole business. Number 9 on your agenda. An ordinance to amend the city code of ordinances Title 3, Animals and Fowls, Chapters 1, 2, and 3, and to repeal any and all ordinance in conflict herewith and providing for an effective date. Scott, you want to speak about that? I think we've talked it well to death, haven't we?
Yes, sir. Based on the city council doing a good ordinance that's been put together. The only additional information I have to share, other than what's already been discussed, is being recommended that a 90-day grace period be implemented if council approves it on second and final reading.
You mean a 90-day for it to go into effect?
It'll go into effect, but 90 days before strict enforcement occurs, to give people time to
Get rid of it.
Move their animals, move their animals or put them in a pen or something like that. Yeah.
So it would be in effect, in other words, someone could not go and get those types of animals. would have to comply. But someone that already has them, have them with them, they have a period to come in compliance.
Agree or disagree? Well, agree?
I'm fine.
And to address the gentleman's concerns earlier, this does confine them to the owner's property. They can't run all over the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Doing their business, right?
Oh, and it goes a step further than that,
Yeah, they gotta
because they gotta be in clean
Gotta be in a coop.
conditions,
Uh-huh.
which will eliminate odors and stuff.
Right.
And if animal control is called because of an odor complaint, then they're in violation of the ordinance. If,
Can I just ask the gentleman, how many chickens how many chickens would you say your neighbor had? Just off the top of your head.
Well, I've never really counted them, but I would guess there's at least this one particular neighborhood, there's quite a few of them, but they're cow, chickens, there's a fowl, duck, turkey, so, but, any one of them would have at least 20, 30 chickens, turkeys, combination of chicken, turkeys, roosters.
Are they all in cages or just some in cages and some just roaming? Well, they must be roaming because she said she's stepping. So.
Yeah, they keep them up at night sometimes, but then let them out during the day. And when they let them out, then they just make a beeline. I mean, they just run to the neighbor's yard because there's nothing in their yard to eat. Because it's community, so they run to the neighbor's yard where there is, bugs and worms. So and so.
Mr. Mayor, okay, so this 90-day grace period, after that is concluded, that's up, we get aggressive, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just recently, didn't we add, part-time for animal control? Didn't we add, no,
I don't think we've had.
I don't think, no.
okay, my point is that 91st day,
Uh-huh.
that we have to get aggressive, are we gonna be ready?
Well,
You know,
that's citations.
120 days, 150 days on down the line, and, we just don't have the manpower, and we're still stuck with the same problem.
no, the deputy chief has made a proposal for additional part-time help. So he did not want to present it until the ordinance was approved and see how it was approved, what modifications council.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about that?
And Scott, that would be citation, correct? I mean, that's all that's gonna be, nobody's seizing chickens. That's just taking people to court. You understand that, correct?
I understand it,
Okay.
but always make that issue or that circumstance or whatever it is able to handle the issue. I mean, you can't pile a bunch of people up in the courtroom, and it's a continuous 3, 4, 5 month thing and on 2 cases, I mean, everything has to kind of line up and fall in place, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you. Good comment. Any other questions? Discussion on that?
Just for clarification, as an ordinance, the process is that an ordinance becomes effective 15 days after it's passed, unless it states otherwise. So it wouldn't become effective until December 29th, and then it would be 90 days after that to allow them time to become in compliance.
Okay, let's move forward to number 10. First reading on the ordinance, an ordinance of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee to approve the rezoning a portion of the 53 acres owned by Black Diamond Construction located west of Green Lane near Northside Park Drive and referenced on Bedford County Tax Map 78, Parcel 11, from residential R4, high-density residential district to residential R3, medium-density residential district, and repealing any ordinance or portion of ordinance in conflict therewith. Wally?
Hello again, Mayor. Just before I go ahead, Mayor, this is the website I was talking about. From the previous application.
Right.
So the application we have is, some of you might recall this from last year. So this lower area here was rezoned to high density. Usually we would ask for a survey before, or subdivision before having
published.
Mhm.
Part of that new law that was passed this summer to the Open Meetings Act, it requires you, if you change anything on the agenda, you have to be following your own rules of procedure that you formally adopted. That's why we gotta formally adopt something. So that's what we're doing there. And what I have put in there is that you have, in order to suspend those particular rules, you have to everybody here has to agree to do so. Now, I might just want a vote of 4, I don't know, but I basically made that, it has to be unanimous in order to change. How are y'all feeling about that? Does anybody have a problem with that? Let me put that question that way.
Anybody?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I placed in there, normally when you do, adopt rules of procedures, you name someone as, it's usually the attorney for whoever, but so I put city attorney in there. If y'all want it to be somebody else, we can do that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Good with everybody?
Yes.
So those are the changes. Any questions? Okay. What I think I may come back and do and talk about next month, we may just adopt a rules, particular rules for you all outside of the rules of procedure, but a specific outline for how you want. There's a general outline of the order of business in Robert's rules. And we follow that in general, but we may want to tweak it a little bit so that you all, because we have to follow now the rule about the public comments and what order you do new business in. It's just new business, and y'all have a particular order. So we may add that in there or add it as a resolution, okay?
Okay.
So be thinking about that.
Any questions, comments? All right, let's go to our resolutions then, number 12. A resolution adopting a plan of services for an area proposed for annexation. The territory is a 48.73 acre tract of land located on the north side of Union Street, west of Jennings Lane, and referenced on Bedford County Tax Map 079, parcel 14, to be annexed by owner consent and to be incorporated within the boundaries of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, and owned by James Bond and Elizabeth Gallam, I believe is the way you pronounce that. Wally? I think we already know about where that's at.
Yeah, I'll just show it immediately here before I start, and Lisa can help me out. So each piece of land, when it's annexed, it has 2 resolutions. So one is just called plan of services. The second one is the actual resolution for annexation. So it might be 4 items here from 12 to 15. However, we're only talking about 2 pieces of property.
Right. All right. Everybody know where that's at? Off of Jennings Lane there? It'll be right
That's
across from where Garden Gate subdivision, I think is.
Exactly, that's what it is. So Mayor, this is one piece that we're talking about, which has a blue kind of highlight. And I'm just trying to use the laser here. It's not showing. The other one will be what is shown as 120. Those are the 2 pieces of land here. So they are owned by the same owner, but because there are 2 parcels, that's why they are being applied for under different applications. So this went to the planning commission last week, I believe, and the 2 of them received favorable recommendation. And again, I hope that the laser pointer is going to cooperate, but it's not. So I'll just make do with what we have here. So the first one, which is a bigger piece of land, is about 48 acres.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, which is a smaller one, which is bordered in black, is about 18.1 acres. So the goal is to apply for annexation, and the 2 parcels are within the city future annexation area. So that meets this requirement. And the 2 of them are highlighted or designated in the future land use map for low density. There have been a lot of discussion back and forth between the applicant and staff. Initially, they wanted to have townhomes. which basically is inconsistent with the neighborhood as well as the future land use map. As we speak now, the application for a zoning would be for R2, which is low density.
Okay.
It's gonna be on the planning commission meeting at the end of December.
So they're not annexed in as R1 initially, and then they'll ask for rezoning to R2,
Yes,
right?
they already asked, and it will go to the planning commission, the upcoming planning commission, which is basically consistent with what we have for regulation. With that, I know we had a little bit of discussion during the planning commission. All of it was positive. There were no reservations about the annexation. And also from Shelbyville Power point of view, there are no reservations. So if you look at the plan of services for each one of them, they didn't have any reservations about the annexation.
And it'll have an entrance and exit on Jennings Lane and an entrance and exit on 41A also, right?
It will have one on Union, two on Jennings Lane.
Okay, okay.
Again, I cannot highlight it, but one of them would be in line with the existing access on the east side.
Yes.
Another will be a little bit north of it.
Yeah.
Which meets the requirement of the subdivision regulation for the number of lots, how many accesses.
Wally done that.
So I know, like, just a quick comment here, we had changes to the subdivision regulations about access points. So basically, it depends on the number of lots. The application as submitted will meet the minimum requirement for access points. Access points, I mean, ways to get in and out.
Any questions? Wally, just stay where you're at. I'm going to read all the way through these resolutions. Number 13 is a resolution to annex certain territory upon written consent of the owners to incorporate the same within the boundaries of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee. This property is a 48.73 acre tract of land located on the north side of Union Street, west of Jennings Lane, and referenced as Bedford County Tax Map 079 Parcel 14 and owned by James Bond and Elizabeth Gallo. All right, that was part of the annex portion of it. You need to discuss that, or can I move on?
I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay. Any questions? All right, number 14 is a resolution adopting a plan. This is for the smaller portion up there.
That's a
A
small.
resolution adopting a plan of services for an area proposed for annexation. The territory is an 18.19 acre tract of land located west of Jennings Lane and referenced on Bedford County Tax Map 068 Parcel 120 to be annexed by owner consent to be incorporated within the boundaries of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, and owned by James Bond and Elizabeth Gallo, same owners for the other property. Then 15 is a resolution to annex that certain territory upon written consent of the owners to incorporate the same within the boundaries of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee. This property is an 18.19 acre tract of land located on the west of Jennings Lane and referenced as Bedford County Tax Map 068, Parcel 120, and owned by James Bond and Elizabeth Gallo. Any questions, comments?
So a little bit, yeah, go ahead.
All of that is favorable as well?
All of
Smaller
them,
portion?
yes. And just timeline, this is the first reading. If it gets first reading, it goes again to council for the second one.
Right.
Meanwhile, the zoning itself will go to the planning commission end of December. Depending on whatever recommendation they have, they will go to council for first reading in January and second reading in February next year.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Wally. Appreciate the information. All right, number 16 is a resolution of the city of Shelbyville recognizing the retirement of police drug dog K9 Ranger, a Labrador Retriever, from the Shelbyville Police Department and releasing his ownership to his partner handler, Officer Raymond Castillo. Scott, you want to speak on that, or does Chief? Yes, Chief Phillips,
All right,
our Chief of Police.
we acquired, Police K9 Ranger in August 2019, and when Officer Raymond Castillo came to work for us from the 21st Judicial Drug Task Force. The dog has worked, pretty good and worked well for the last 3.5 or 4 years. And, Officer Castillo has resigned from the Shelbyville Police Department as of November 30th, to take another position here in Shelbyville. So we're asking to retire this animal. Our trainer has assessed the animal and says he was be fit to be able to put with another handler. We don't really have another handler at the present time. So none of the money for the dog or the upkeep for the dog or anything was tax dollars. It all came through the drug fund.
Thank you, Chief Phillips. Any questions?
The dog get a pension.
I knew that was coming. Business items. Attorney fees, local option sales tax issue. Scott, if you would fill us in on that.
Yes, the situation we're facing with the local option sales tax. Council several months ago authorized expenditures up to $50,000. And our most recent bill has exceeded that limit. And so council will need to authorize additional funding as this process moves forward.
Making any progress?
We have not received a response from the council.
That letter.
The letter was sent. The letter was sent the very next day after council's approval, but there's been no response by any party at this time.
Any other questions? All right, number 18, forward letter of intent for fiscal year 25 police pursuit vehicles. Lori, do you want to fill us in on that, please? It's Ms. Sadler, our purchasing agent, director of purchasing.
Ask Chief Phillips to left
Okay,
with
Chief
me, he
Phillips.
may have a little more
Okay.
knowledge than I do, but this is strictly due to the shortage of vehicles. Mayor, corporate Ford is requesting government agencies to provide a letter of intent for FY 2025,
Okay.
which would be effective July 1 of next year through June 30th of 2025. And all they're asking is that we tell them the number of vehicles we plan to purchase. And
It's not a binding contract. It's just stating that Ford knows that they're going to be producing 6 vehicles for Shelbyville, and they just have to have a number for their production.
So they manufacture, I guess.
and still falls within the Tennessee statewide contract that's held with Lonnie Cobb Ford in Henderson.
Okay.
So the state contract is covered. And Attorney Schaffner reviewed the intent, and she did request that we bring this to you all. It's non-binding, but if the money is not provided in FY 25 in the budget process, then we have to send back a letter canceling our intent.
Okay.
Yeah, it does say that this can be canceled. The way that it's written, it sounds more like an actual, pledge to purchase that. So I felt like it needed to come forward.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Are those Explorers? Yes. Are they cheaper than the Durangos?
Pretty similar.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Chief and Lori. All right, Ms. Lori, I think you stay right there. Purchasing bid items, authorization to let request for proposals, RFP for the airport pasture leases.
Yes, we have 2 properties at the airport. One is approximately 150 acres. This is east and south of the runway, and a second one that is approximately 50 acres north of the runway. We have leased those historically for pasture leases to farmers.
Okay.
This last one was for 4 years. It runs out the end of January. So we're just asking for authorization to let request for proposals for these 2 leases.
Yeah.
And probably if you authorize this at the December meeting, it won't be back to you until I guess maybe, did we say January or February? I can't remember.
I think February.
Yeah, February.
Okay, okay. Questions about that?
How long were they leased each, how long were they leased out? How many years?
4.
Four.
And there is an out clause in both of the leases, should something change at the airport property, you know, it's a 30-day,
Okay.
I think it was 30 days, 60-day notice.
For them to move the animals or whatever they need to do. Okay. Okay, and it's for pasture for animals more than it is crops and stuff, or is it both?
The pasture for animals on the north end and pasture for animals on the south end, along the edge of the runway is crops.
Okay, okay. That's good for the farmer. Good for us too, right?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. All right, Lori, the next item. Anybody have any questions about that lease? If not, we'll move to item 20, award the RFP for the downtown kiosk.
Okay, the bid committee met Tuesday, November 28th, and we opened sealed proposals for a downtown informational kiosk. This is a part of the Shelbyville Downtown Improvement Grant. 2 proposals were received from one vendor, Cornerstone Kiosk. The mayor and the city manager and I were in attendance at this bid opening. You all may want to speak to it more than I do, but one of them has a fiberglass header and seal. I put pictures in your packets so you could see them. That one was up to $21,379.40 with bronze header and seal up to $25,115.90. And the reason we say up to is because these things are very unique. I mean, it's our name, our seal. So the top price is not concrete, but the example picture that was in your packet would kind of give you an idea of, you know, what it would look like. It's a 4-sided looking structure, very pretty. The economic impact of this, the maximum it would be is $25,115.90 using general fund, hotel, motel fund, and then approximately $12,000 covered by grant funds.
Okay.
So basically, it's if you want the bronze header or the fiberglass header.
Bronze being a lot more durable. With a little extra money.
And prestigious.
I think it looks a lot better too.
It
Because
sure did, yeah.
it was raised and, you know, very pretty.
Yeah. Good question. Anyone else have any questions about that? We have not found a location exactly what yet happens.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah?
I think we're in agreement.
Okay.
On the west side of the square, there is a build out.
Bump out.
Bump out in the sidewalk area where the brick pavers are down.
Okay.
And it's a heavily traveled area going into the annex, to the courthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Down to us, and ample room to be able to view all 4 sides that we'll have information on.
You'll have information about the city and things,
Yes.
where you can go and direct all.
And the electricity for it is right there. The pole is 5 feet away from where we'll be placing. it
Good,
With
good.
the council's blessing.
Any questions? All right, number 21, Lori, award the RFQ for the multimodal consultant.
You might want to come up and if they have any questions for you. Yes, we let request for qualifications September the 7th. We received 7 responses. The evaluation committee, which was made up of the city manager, public works director, city recorder, and myself, we evaluated these and selected the top 3. We didn't bring them in. We asked them to send in another proposal. what it is we're following TDOT. We have to follow strict TDOT requirements. And so phase 2 is for them to submit again, the top 3. So the top 3, Energy, Land and Infrastructure of Murfreesboro, Briggs and Maloney of Murfreesboro, TLM Associates of Jackson, all submitted again for the second phase of evaluation. And the committee reviewed their submittals again. We filled out evaluation matrices both times. We have to keep all that on file in case we ever have a TDOT audit. And we all unanimously selected Griggs and Maloney of Murfreesboro for the consulting of the multimodal access grant. Buck can tell you where that's at.
That's, we've been talking about it for about a year. That goes from North Main to Eastland on Madison. So that's the replacement of the current sidewalk going out through there.
And Griggs and Maloney, I think you were given tonight, their proposal came in Monday, I believe it was. Yes, Monday. And their proposal lines up with the TDOT allocations for this grant.
Doc, you want to address that?
It does line up to the dollar, and for the council to keep in mind, under the multimodal grant formula, TDOT pays 90%. So of the $100,500 worth of services we'll be getting, it will be $10,050.
Any other questions? Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. All right, appointments is the next item. And the Safe and Affordable Housing Committee, 2 appointments. Still don't have any names yet. I've asked for some names to be submitted. And of course, these are voluntary positions for people to serve on to try to help the community. And just as soon as I get some names and people that want to serve, we'll get those 2 positions filled. Number 23, Planning Commission, 1 appointment. Steve Taylor, I believe his tenure has come up, his time on there, but he would like to serve again. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes.
And so we would like to reappoint Mr. Taylor to that Planning Commission. 24, the 231 North Business Park Oversight Committee appointment. Scott Collins, our city manager, and William Christie, our vice mayor, are on that already. That actual committee is probably going to be dissolved pretty quick. The last of the property has been designated, so I ask you to continue to serve until that is completed on that. Do we have any other business to take care of tonight? Do we have any announcements tonight? Yes, sir. Mr. Allen?
Just one thing, when you guys leave tonight and when you come in the next time, the traffic signal that's out here out front, it's not located in the right spot. It should be located over here so you can get closer to where you have to turn. I have estimates for it to move that light, but I wanted you guys all to pay attention to it to see where it is, because if you ease up, you get underneath the light, you can't see it.
Right.
So it should be across the intersection, but I'll be bringing something next January meeting and everything, but I wanted to have you guys just be aware.
Appreciate you looking at that. I stopped tonight and I was up under it, and I had to wait for the other side to stop before I made the turn. Thank you.
We asked Buck to tell us what the schedule is. What's your pickup schedule for December?
Do we have the calendar on the website? I don't know right off that, but it is on the website.
I'll
We'll have it at the meeting.
have it announced at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other announcements? Thank you, Buck, for that. Any other announcements?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Out of the clear blue.
Okay.
Where, the county owes us money. And is it tied to the 231 business park, the money, didn't we put up a chunk of money
Yeah,
for
for the road
the
change.
road?
Yeah, and we received that $50,000 according to Kay.
From that fund.
We received that from Duxon.
But then the county still owes 80, 90, 100 grand or something.
Go ahead, Scott.
I do not know 100%. I do know they have made some payments. I
Oh.
don't know if they paid it 100% yet or not.
Okay,
But
We'll
we'll
let Kate
follow up.
tell you on that, yeah.
okay.
Thank you, Bob. That's a good question. Okay, if we don't have any other business, let's adjourn.
Right.
Thank you for coming.